I looked it up. It's on the internet. It must be true.
And we're only really here because thus far you've been right.
Thanks, TK Linda, for subscribing at Tier 1. For 12 months. Holy shit. Thank you. I don't even entirely know what that means. But it seems like significant, so thank you very, very much. Thanks, missing parts. Well, that's still cool, though. Thanks for being around so long.
Patrick P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett. He used to be with Google. He used to be with Google.
Same response, sir.
Patrick P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett.
Same response, sir.
Sorry about that.
He used to be with Google. He used to be with Google.
Oh, Patrick Pichet?
P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett. He used to be with Google.
Same response, sir. Same response, sir.
Am I on the ball tonight or what with the buttons?
Guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Hip in the house.
Our toil,
Wicked.
resources, and livelihood are all involved.
Betty Davis.
So is the very structure of our society. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
And will persist.
We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
My name's Patrick Bergy. From 2007 to 2010, I helped in pioneering what was then a new weapon capability for the Force Psychological Operations Group called IIA, or Interactive Internet Activities.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I get
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldiers, and at the same time
Is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
Psywar.
These are the Psywar soldiers.
Good evening and welcome to the American Awakening. Welcome back if you've been with us for a while. Psywar, stop right there. Psychological warfare. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I've got this, like, probably not the best zoomed in right now. Hold on one second. There we go. That seems more proper. How do I sound, guys? Audio coming in okay? We 5x5 here. Here we go. I got a haircut. Thank you, Riley. I didn't get a chance to really look over the last stuff you sent, Miss Riley. Did y'all read the article about the video? Colonel Stanger went on record about it. Very, very interesting. You know, thank Riley for sharing that with me earlier. Maybe last week or something. Maybe a couple days ago. Yesterday. I don't remember. But, you know, as I'm watching that, I'm thinking to myself, you know, that's a problem. I spent 3 years directly in support, contract support with Force Psychological Operations Group. That's going to be the second hour, though. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let me jump over here real quick. Here we go. We don't want to jump ahead of ourselves. So, got the show notes up. Psychological warfare in the age of social networks. That is today's theme topic. Whatever you want to go with that. And I think it's a good one. I think it's an important one. Some people want to have... Some people think that, like, the voting machines, oh my God, they've influenced the outcome of the elections with the voting machine. That was never my thing. I've been trying to warn Americans, first through my chain of command with leadership, and then just taking it to the public, being very careful not to release anything classified. I'm can do that because I was an information assurance security officer with the Department of Defense for a decade. Again, I've actually got the credentials and such in there. And we'll be going into that in the second half of the hour. Hey, guys, found phone to get on Twitch. Oh, hi, Betty Davis. Oh, we're going to miss you over in YouTube, though, Betty Davis. You're going to stay over there, too? Hi, good guy. Here we go. So what do we got here? We've got a debate on basically the debate is, should they be doing that? Should they be advertising? Whatever the debate is, I don't know. The debate I think we should be having is someone who's been involved with the PSYOP community for the better part of a decade, with an above top secret clearance, and the PSYOP community, specifically the 4th, which was under the 8th, for 3 years, from 7 to 10. I started out the same way as everybody else did. I'm gonna play a video in the second hour about from Major General John Brennan, not Tories Brennan, but I kind of thought about that earlier. I wonder if maybe she was being honest about the Brennan, just not the which one. Because he was a commander of Special Operations Forces. Out of Fort Bragg. So that was a hell of a job. But no, we're going to get into that, and I think it's going to be an informative evening. But before I start that, and I'll probably get into that before the second hour. But before we get into that, I wanted to start out. I was going to play this here. This is from Shadowgate. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. And let me play this here real quick.
You've got the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012, which helped what was called provide IIA the keys to the kingdom. That was what we wanted, the keys to the kingdom. Because it was such a problem for us. How do you disseminate information on a chat room with a bunch of Iraqis who are sitting in Iraq, but that chat room's on a server somewhere in the United States? How do you do that without violating American law?
How do you do that?
Plus, how do you do that with ensuring that an American's not going to see that post later on, which does not have attribution for it potentially, right? And be influenced by it, because that's illegal.
Well, everyone, good afternoon. On behalf of Fred Kemp, our president, and the entire Atlantic Council family, dedicated or focused on countering propaganda and disinformation act. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with this year's presidential campaign.
Yeah, when John Huntsman came out back in March or so of 2016, trying to promote the Disinformation and Propaganda Act, focused on Russia. In the middle of the night of 2016, they come out with the Disinformation and Propaganda Act. It's a massively, was 180 million.
Just real quick. Interesting. President signs Portman Murphy. Well, isn't that like Senator Ron Portman, Millie and Gavin's senator in Ohio? Interesting stuff. That's one of the reasons I want to have an actual investigation done someday, to find out exactly what happened, if anything. This is just one of many things on the list that I have of potential things that could have been behind the arrest of Millie Weaver, the takedown of Shadowgate across pretty much all platforms. How we were taken down, at least for the first couple days, for at least a bit anyway, from InfoWars, from band.com. It was an InfoWars producer that produced it and directed it, and it was InfoWars that funded it because they fund them. Nobody ever seems to care or ask these questions. I still do, no matter how much these people think I'm a dick. And I'm gonna remain a dick until I understand exactly what the fuck was going on. Pardon my French. But I should be careful because I am on YouTube. Before I get too much into this, by the way, I want to just kind of stop and take a moment. I've really been working out some interesting ideas that I've got lined up for the coming year that I'm going to kick off, January 1st. And we're about a month out from that. So right now I'm putting things together. My plan, though, I guess, in a nutshell, is to try to and I'm thinking about this, and if anybody has any, I'm thinking about this actually going at the first of the year, producing one show a week, but going to events. It's a campaign year. Going to events around Florida, locally, and then around Florida. Doing a man on the street thing, and I actually have a very interesting way of doing that. And it also helps protect my feet, because if I'm going to be going all around these events and stuff, because if you, okay, let's put it this way. Let's say you could hate Trump, right, and still go to Trump, like a MAGA event, and have a blast at the party outside, as long as you just kind of was like, okay, these guys have their opinions, I have mine. Don't get in a fucking argument with the people outside. If you went there, you would have a blast, right? There's like so many people, but for me, with my bad feet and such, it's difficult to get around and at these events. But I do have everything in place. I'm not sure I want to go into it yet. Probably I'm about maybe, well, let's say I think 10 days, possibly 2 weeks out from doing a big thing, or a big kind of showing you guys what I got in mind. But my plan is to go outside of the studio, do interviews with people. One of my favorite questions. Have you seen Shadowgate? So it's basically, a lot of things are going to keep the same. But actually, I've got a partner that's going to be joining me on this whole thing. Again, that goes under the... we're going to keep this under wraps, at least now. You guys, half you guys know already in the thread here. So, because I've been bugging people about it. I've only got one person that thinks it's a bad idea so far, out of everybody. So that's not bad. Even Fred, who, by the way, is still sick as a dog. Keep him in your prayers. Doesn't have COVID. But he has some sort of fucked up shit that's supposed to be even now, still extremely contagious. So, no, he's really been struggling the last couple of days, but he's getting through it. He's doing okay. And again, it's not like COVID, and he's an older man. I've got big plans for Fred. And by the way, that would be another reason to going to 1 day a week with the show, beginning the first of the year, because I can't mess around anymore with some of these things. And writing Fred's story, documenting Fred Taylor's story, is gotta take a high priority. And it's kind of like how I did with my book. I got sick, had my prostate surgery. They fucking killed me. But then the VA brought me back. And I'm like, wow, I got to finish this book, even though it was pretty much done. I just went in and said, it was done. I was making excuses for about the last 6 months of even publishing it. And so, we've got to get this done. Fred's a 3-time Purple Heart recipient. 2 of the Purple Hearts that he got 2 days apart on Hamburger Hill. Before it was even Hamburger Hill, they may have turned it into Hamburger Hill. I don't know entirely. Then he gets out of service, medically retired, and as a specialist, not some freaking piece of crap general. And he spends like the rest of his life, dedicates it to voluntary service, speaking out on veterans issues. He was the former national commander of the military order of the Purple Heart, the former national commander of Combat Infantrymen Association. I mean, Fred is just, holy shit, he's a superhero. But he's not like the Man of Steel. So we've got to get this done before we run out of time. And hopefully, actually, if I were to put money on who's going to outlive who was going to outlive the other, Fred or me, I'd actually put my money on Fred. Right? He's done pretty damn good so far. And the way I'm going, it's like statistically, yeah, he's a better odds with that. So we got to get this book done. And I got a really good way to do it. I've got voice to text set up so it separates. I got everything set up. I got to get Fred healthy over here in the studio for a few weeks, maybe a few hours a day. And then we'll be able to put it together. And this is a book that's got to be written. Holy shit. It's got to be written. Hopefully what we'll do is I'll just do my best at it, putting everything together for Fred, and then just give it to him and say, take it to somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing, and have them do it better and right. And we'll have everything documented on both video and audio. So that's how we'll have the interview set up. Which shit, I'm gonna have to get like a couple chairs and a table and such. So we got some work to do on this. But what I'm really focused on is at the beginning of the year, putting together a really well packaged broadcast. 2, maybe 3 hours a week on whatever day, and have it done using the information that I've collected outside, not just outside, not just pulled offline or something, and I think that'll be good, right? It's not going to make everybody the most happy, but that's not entirely my concern. And so, at any rate, back to the video I was playing here from Shadowgate 2, I believe. And again, Portman signs the counter propaganda bill into law. And what was that bill, right? Like Christmas Eve on December 23rd or 23rd actually of 2016, just before Trump's getting sworn in. But it's not like they did this because of Trump. They did this because it goes back to like March of 2016 when they were trying to put this together, which they slid into the NDAA. And which I would also add that there was an attorney, one of those attorneys, what's his name? It's that Canadian guy with the funny hair. And he suggested immediately after Milley's arrest, within a day or two, as they were, within a couple days of Milley's arrest, he was digesting some of it online and of her arrest online, and he suggested potentially it could have been connected with the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And by the way, the Portman-Murphy bill was inside of the NDAA, right? But you can't stop there, because this is, counter propaganda. This is psychological warfare. It's PSYOP, baby. So you really got to go back to the origins of PSYOP. And I don't mean going all the way back. I mean going back to like the origins of like the 8th, the Special Operations Forces, when they were embedded with them out of, out of Bragg. But let's continue with this. And then I got another video I want to show you before we get into the other stuff. Million government program that's funding nothing more than the Atlantic Council. It funds social justice NGO programs to determine whether or not something's fake news.
If you look closely at the writing of the act, under Section 2, Sense of Congress, it states the United States government should develop a comprehensive strategy to counter foreign disinformation and propaganda, and assert leadership in developing a fact-based strategic narrative. And an important element of this strategy should be to protect a free, healthy, and independent press in countries vulnerable to foreign disinformation. There's only one problem. The act makes no mention of domestic propaganda and disinformation.
So this is a problem, my friends. This is a problem. In my opinion, it is. And how are we thinking about solving this problem? Minimizing it or controlling it, or only doing this, or setting all these rules that clearly aren't being followed. My time with the Fourth Pog, my job was in very significant part as the Information Assurance Security Officer, to maintain compliance, to make sure that we were in compliance with this new technology, this new capability, these new weapons that the Fourth Pog calls them, that these new weapons were being used within the law. But I don't entirely see that now. But then the other problem is the laws have changed. But we've never been involved with the change of these laws and the conversation of it. And so we need to decide, right? The argument or the conversation shouldn't be whether or not the Fourth Pog should be making commercials like that on YouTube in America. The conversation should not be about whether or not the Propaganda and Disinformation Act should exist or not exist, or should be at this level or that level. I think the conversation should be whether or not our country should even allow or accept or participate in psychological warfare. I get it. There are a lot of countries out there that want to kill us in many different ways. There have been massive wars fought. I spent a couple years between Iraq and Afghanistan. I get it. You don't need to come at me saying, "Oh, you just..." No. We have enemies. Psychological warfare, the techniques, the thing they showed at the beginning of Ghost in the Machine, where they showed Sun Tzu That goes back hundreds, thousands of years, right? The art of war. But should we even have it or allow it? Maybe that's the problem. Have we ever just tried saying, okay, the only way we're ever going to fix this problem, because our adversaries are doing it to us, right? Maybe the only way to solve this problem is to be aware of it, educate our people of it, take whatever security measures, networks, firewalls, intrusion, predictive intrusion, take those steps, but eliminate the morally and ethically bankrupt propaganda dissemination. Because you can't sit here on one hand and say, oh, it's okay. This is great. We've got these incredible capabilities that allow us to lie and allow us to do whatever the hell we want, and you'll never know. We get in your mind. We're the ghosts in the machine, right? You can't say that on one hand, and on the other hand say, well, we're the government. Trust us. No. Where's the moral high ground? Has anyone thought yet just to step back and say, what are the second and third orders of effect that we're having right now? That video alone caused all sorts of problems with the ghost in the machine. It's been used by many. It's been exploited by many. General Flynn. Damn it! I don't think I posted that. I got to bring that over here real quick. Riley shared this with me, as always. Bear with me one moment, folks. Okay, where are you? There. Here. There. Let me put these here. Hold on one second. Again, thank Riley for sharing these with me. And I'm totally off the subject a bit here, but not really. Let me drop those here. Right? So, we got General Flynn here, former Intel director, guy running around all the time saying, trust me, trust me, trust me. Now he's going into the Bible Belt saying, trust me, please, trust me. Let me put my hands on you and I will save you. My name is General Flynn. I mean, he's just so full of shit, it's not even funny. But it's because he was brought up. Hell, he pioneered this tactic. But look what we got here. And again, thanks to Riley. But, this is what I'm seeing on his book. So why does it have the little ghost emblem there? Is he suggesting somehow this is connected to the Force Psychological Operations Group? I don't know. Kind of seems like it is. Kind of seems like, Tori's running around with the Force Psychological Operations Group. Are they... Now, with Tori, it's a different situation because she doesn't have any credibility. So she uses things like that. She calls herself a doctor to make herself sound smarter and more important when she's not really. So she's using someone else's credibility to build her own. This is the same thing. Tori's, running around with that shirt, kind of representing herself like a PSYOP person, like, Ghost in the Machine, like Fourth Pog. Basically, I consider it another form of stolen valor, really, to be honest with you. Other people have other opinions, but when a family member gives you a shirt that says something cool like that with your unit or somebody else, or they're somebody's if you walk up to someone and they're like, oh no, and they've got like a military type shirt on, and you ask them, oh, were you in the military? And they say, oh no, this person gave this to me, and but no, I never claimed to be, and they don't actually go around trying to sell themselves as being what they're not, then I don't have a problem with it. But this falls into that second and third order of effect that I don't think that the Fourth Psychological Operations Group is really considering. And that is, okay, are they aware that people like General Flynn, someone that basically most people are considering as being a key figure behind the incitement of January 6th, a coup d'etat, former 3-star general, do they realize that their logo is going on his book? And it's not really their logo. It's not their crest, right? We'll get into that. Their crest is different. This is just like a little mark that they're known for now. And now, a guy like Flynn, a retired 3-star general, when he puts something like that up there, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I'm asking myself, are there people within the Fourth Psychological Operations Group, 8th, any of these PSYOP groups, are there fucking Torians in there that, believe in Tory, right? And her bullshit. And are they in there either working contracts or in uniform? Right? It's entirely possible. And so are they giving so while Tory's stealing the legitimacy of these people, we've got these guys who already have the abject legitimacy, putting symbols like that on books, basically titled, fifth generation warfare, and the Fourth Pog and the Army in general, the military in general, aren't looking at this going, oh, wow, maybe this is a second or third order effect on something that we didn't take into consideration that is not only just bad, it's trying to overthrow our fucking country. Maybe they didn't. I don't think they have, because it's a legitimate issue. It's a frickin' problem, right? It's not just wearing a T-shirt when you've not served that says Army. It's beyond that. It is a major issue, in my opinion. And again, I hope you consider my opinion as being based on actually being part of those organizations. So I got here. Let me do this here. Let me read this here. But actually, let me bring this in a little bit too. Let me get this zoomed in. Okay. So as the new year fast approaches, I wanted to take a moment to outline freedomstream.tv and the Bergy-Bit's focus going forward into the 2023 psychological warfare, aka PSYOP, in military nomenclature. For thousands of years, humans have been perfecting the manipulation of others' minds and emotions, but recent emerging technologies over the last few decades has created a new vulnerability on a global scale to humankind like no other that has come before us as a species. This is something I actually truly believe, right? I look at this the same way I look at a nuclear weapon. From the advent of the telegram, the game was changed. Gone were the days where geographical constraints limited the abilities for mass dissemination of information to a limited audience that would then require additional mediums, like newspapers and leaflets, to propagate down to its intended target demographics. Newspapers and leaflets had their own limitations as well, being the communication with your target was essentially one way, with a limited ability to generate feedback from the target that would allow you to tailor your message to more effectively expand your overall audience, overall influence. Today, social networks provide both a platform to disseminate your message and generate immediate feedback, which you can then use to more effectively target masses of people, usually without their knowledge of the planning and oftentimes deception that was used to create the message your target engages. We can build predictive behavioral profiles today, pulling in data from hundreds of sources around the world, using artificial intelligence to know exactly what message you need to send to exactly what group or groups of individuals you are targeting. For the next 2 years leading up to the 2024 presidential election, the Bergy-Bit will be focused on PSYOP used by our government, corporations, military lobby firms, politicians, and other non-governmental organizations to influence our perceptions of the world around us. You want to talk about voting machines stealing elections? There are plenty of grifters pushing that false narrative. We will not, because it serves only to distract us from the true threat of psychological warfare and the tactical coordinated operations, which are the one and only true threat that faces our species, more so than famine, nuclear weapons, and any other form of kinetics. We need to wake up quick. So, drawing from the James Carville's famous line, "It's the economy, stupid," I went here with, "It's the PSYOP, stupid." I thought we'd try to use what worked in the past by some pioneers of dirty tricks and influence. Why reinvent the wheel? So what I wanted to do here is play a few parts. We got a bit of time. Probably, I've been jabbering away more than I really want.
Economic, political, and social structures remained in place.
Stop. There, hold on. Was that where? No, that was supposed to. Well, which one did I grab? Beginning. That should have been the beginning, but it wasn't. So there we go. So bear with me one moment here, folks. And we're just going to play this for a few minutes. I'll interject along the way. I got my little disclaimer up. Psywar contains controversial subject matter. Creators of source material may or may not agree with certain views presented. And I would, that was in their thing, and I'm going to say that is in my thing as well. Let me do this here real quick. There we go. This is CIA and Psywar, psychological warfare to make the world safe for democracy. Professor Noam Chomsky. Who the hell gets named Noam? That's interesting. I'm just saying. Stop. There we go. Yay. PSYOPs, psychological operations, any form of communications in support of objectives designed to influence the opinions, emotions, attitudes, or behavior of any group in any order to in order to benefit the sponsor. I would actually have changed sponsor to client, but I don't write these anymore. Either directly or indirectly. right? Again, keep in mind my opinion on this, my argument on this should be, should anything be accepted or allowed like this by our government if it's damaging the core trust within our government? Are we not sabotaging ourselves by the potential of what we see as a weapon, which may be just fucking doing the exact opposite? And if we turned around and showed ourselves to be examples of good, ethical, and moral character that other countries would follow, the threat to us would be reduced, and, you know, everybody would be happy, smoking weed. It would be a beautiful thing, man. Tell him, Gnome. Come on, Gnome. I don't even know if Gnome's going to be in here in the immediate future. It's going to want you to read that.
Here in the United States, we're often brought up and told we don't have propaganda, that we have a hard-charging investigative press, we have this educated, skeptical, even cynical citizenry, and that if there were powerful interests trying to manage and manipulate public opinion, they would be exposed. The reality actually is just the opposite. Academics like Alex Carey and others who've spent their lifetimes looking at how propaganda works finds that it's actually in Western democracies and open societies where you need the most sophisticated sorts of propaganda. And since World War I, thanks to people like Ivy Lee and Eddie Bernays, you know, propaganda has become a business, this business of public relations. Or as one of the firms that has often represented dictators, the Burson Marsteller firm puts it, their business is perception management, to manage public perception, public policy on behalf of their clients, whoever they might be.
There you go, the client. Metononia. I want a tank. And a Segway. I'm a very strange person. When are they going to get battery-operated tanks? My daughter Mia now caretakes horses and a lemur. Just saying. A film by Scott Noble.
April 9th, 2003. Throngs of Iraqis spontaneously attack a statue of Saddam Hussein, the face obscured with Old Glory. Later, the stars and stripes are replaced with red, white, and black, symbolizing the transference of power from the liberators to the liberated.
Yay.
Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld describes the scenes as breathtaking. For the British Army, they are historic. BBC Radio calls them amazing. And they were. Because the entire event was staged. Years after the operation, a U.S. Army report admitted that the top link...
Just FYI, that was a key thing that was mentioned in the original Shadowgate.
...of the Saddam statue had been engineered by a psychological...
But that was before I went in there.
...operations group. The document states, our TPT, or Tactical PSYOP team, saw the statue as a target of opportunity. A week earlier, another psychological operation laid the groundwork for what followed. The script was for a female Rambo turned damsel in distress to be rescued by U.S. armed forces.
Aww.
In the situation that we're talking about here with Private Lynch, as you know, on about the 23rd of March, her.
If I was there, I would have had her like with a bomb sniffing beagle, right? So in case some people were like, "Oh, fuck this chick," they would have been like, the other was be like, "Well, she's got a beagle with her," and they would have been like, "Oh my God, send in the fucking send in the army." Well, they were.
507th Maintenance Company was ambushed. A number of the members of that maintenance company were killed, a number captured, and a number were unaccounted for, she being one of them.
We waited 24 hours to get the cameras there to set up the whole thing to make this big rescue, and the SWAT team goes in to save her, and then she becomes an instant celebrity overnight. That story happened the same day that the tanks were rolling into Baghdad. That's the same day that we shelled the Palestine hotel where the independent journalists were. The same day we blew up Al Jazeera's television station.
Don't look at the hotel or the journalists we just blew up. Look at this poor little journalist right here we just captured. Isn't she cute? Her beagle didn't make it. Those damn Iraqis.
And killed one of their journalists. Oh, what we're getting on the front pages of the papers and in the news is the rescue of Jessica Lynch. So that was a PR substitute story. Toppling the Saddam statue, they got Shalabi's group. The Rennan group had actually formed one. The CIA had paid the Rennan group to form the Iraqi Congress as a counter group to Saddam Hussein, and they were based here in the U.S. Then they flew them over there and they shipped them into Iraq. They were the ones that were standing around the statue as, you know, a tank was used to pull it over. The Rennan group had been around. He worked for George W.'s father, and he worked for Clinton, too. His firm, he used to be a public relations press guy for Carter, and he created a PR firm that specialized in war.
The head of the Rendon Group, John Rendon, denies that he is a national security strategist or a military tactician. Rather, he states, "I am a politician and a person who uses communication to meet public policy or corporate policy objectives."
Oh, that's much more reassuring. Thank you. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
In fact, I am an information warrior and a perception manager. Following the first Gulf War, Rendon was paid $23 million by the CIA to create anti-Saddam propaganda. Following 9/11, he was charged with public relations for the U.S. bombing of Afghanistan. Rendon is far from alone. Public relations has mushroomed into a $200 billion a year industry.
Look at that. See if I recognize any of these names. Yeah, there we go.
With PR flacks in the United States now outnumbering journalists. Propaganda has become the primary means by which the wealthy communicate with the rest of society. Whether selling a product, a political candidate, a law, or a war, seldom do the powerful deliver messages to the public before consulting their colleagues in the public relations industry. Colin Powell presents a now typical case. He didn't choose a seasoned diplomat for the position of Undersecretary of State. Instead, he chose Charlotte Beers, known in PR circles as the Queen of Madison Avenue.
Let's take a moment and listen to her credentials. And then, by the way, you know, I would later refer you to the MSNBC, to the thing I wrote about. It's on freedomstream.tv. I wrote about the how they brought the Iran they brought over MSNBC producers to produce the content that we were putting out in Iran. It was just hilarious. They were actually Congress actually had to do something where they had a hearing about whether or not the information they were putting out was more damaging to America than Iran. And it was pretty clear it was.
Her resume includes successful advertising campaigns for Head & Shoulders Dander Shampoo, Uncle Ben's Rice, and now Uncle Sam.
You see a news
Uncle
show,
Ben,
you watch
Uncle
60
Sam.
Minutes or a Fox program or whatever it is.
Now, did you follow that transition? She went from Uncle Ben, from selling, marketing Uncle Ben's Rice to Uncle Sam. Jesus, people, you can't make this up.
you tend to give more credibility to what you're told is journalism. If an advertisement comes on, hopefully you tend to be more skeptical of that because obviously somebody put an awful lot of money into crafting this slick TV ad. And
see how they're using, they use other people's who have credibility. They have them put their information over them to provide them with credibility. Otherwise, they'd have people thinking, oh, wow, people don't, like he was saying, people don't trust that Lockheed Martin. People don't trust that Lockheed Martin are going to have your best interest in mind. They're probably thinking, hey, we sell weapons. That's how we make our money. So let's have these nice news folks say it. We'll just pay them a lot of money, and everybody trusts the news.
Sharing it.
Not anymore.
But what you probably never suspect is that that news story you just watched was also crafted by a company given to the TV station or network with the understanding that they would put their own logos on it, identify it as real journalism, and air it.
Colonel Sam Gardner would eventually chart 50 false news stories created and leaked by the Bush White House propaganda apparatus prior to and during the assault on Iraq. Foremost amongst these were the lies that led to the war in the first place.
Oh, milk. Look at how that...
It was not that intelligent.
Why can't we get milk delivered in glass jars like that anymore, all nice and fucking fresh from the udder cold?
That led to the
cold.
Invasion, concludes Gardner.
Very cold, fresh from the udder.
It was an orchestrated
Unless I guess it was milked right, like in Michigan during the winter.
Effort that began before the war and was meticulously planned to manipulate the public.
In 2002, when the Bush administration was conducting its massive public relations campaign to sell the war, out of Donald Rumsfeld's office in the Pentagon,
they gave us Bush.
There was something now referred to as the Pentagon Pundits Program, where literally scores of former high-ranking military generals and admirals and colonels were getting their talking points for their appearances on TV news shows directly from the
people. Have no idea the damage that Donald Rumsfeld has caused worldwide. I've gone into some of the stuff about South Korea that I experienced. It was 10, 15 years after he was even there, and they were still recovering from it.
Pentagon. They would literally go to the Pentagon, be on phone conferences with the Pentagon, travel with the Pentagon, and then go on TV as supposedly independent sources. Although most of them were actually being paid in the private sector because these are retired military officials by defense contractors, and many of them were actually registered lobbyists for military contractors. So there's a bit of a conflict of interest right away when your bread and butter is based on being able to sell armaments and bombs and missiles, and you're supposed to be just a patriotic ex-general giving an honest opinion of what's going on. And even though that's illegal, there's no way to really stop it. And the most powerful medium through which it occurred refuses to even report on the scandal. You've got just a massive problem, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
There were clear warning signs long before the age of the embed. During the assault on Serbia under President Clinton, a report emerged by the Dutch journalist Abe de Vries, revealing the presence of Psy warriors working at CNN. They derived from the 3rd Psychological Operations Battalion at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. De Vries quoted Major Thomas Collins of the U.S. Army Information Service. PSYOPs personnel, soldiers, and officers have been working in CNN's headquarters in Atlanta through our program, training with industry. They helped in the production of news.
shit, no sound. There we go. We're muted. And that was like, we were muted for like the last few moments. Wonderful. Well, you know, that was only the greatest speech you've ever not heard in your life. I'm sorry. But basically what I was telling you is we were going into a break right now because it's 9 o'clock. And we'll be back in 10 minutes. And I hope to see you back, okay? Thank you very much, folks. And we will be back in just a few. Somebody's on there going, hey, man, his lips were moving more than just saying that 10-minute thing.
They never make the same mistake twice.
You would be right.
They make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure.
Even if you highlight it, I got to look over there, and there's a lot of buttons, a lot of things going on, my friends. It's another good reason for me to be producing these things ahead of time as well.
They did send monkeys into space, but they weren't exactly in charge of the aircraft.
Patrick Pichette. Patrick Pichette. Who used to be with Google. Who used to be with Google.
He used to be with Google.
Same response, sir.
Patrick Pichette. Patrick Pichette.
Same response, sir.
Who used to be with Google. Who used to be with Google.
Oh, Patrick Pichette?
Pichette. Patrick Pichette. Who used to be with Google.
Same response, sir. Same response, sir.
Patrick Pichette.
Oh, Patrick Pichette?
And welcome back to the Bergy-Bit, the audio on. Yeah, and that wasn't like the deep state, you know, that wasn't the deep state. That wasn't like malfunctioning, nothing. Actually, the shit runs pretty good here, man. But I got things running pretty good. That was me. Yeah. You know, I'll be sometimes when stuff's running in the foreground, I'll be queuing something else up in the background for your listening enjoyment, your viewing enjoyment, as the case may be. But I have to mute it when I do that. And, you know, sometimes you come back and you don't. But that is a good reason why. It's just another reason why putting together a pre-done show allows me to make sure that I don't miss important thoughts that I have, because we can't miss important thoughts that Bergy has. Jesus H. Mary and Joseph. That wouldn't be good. Or leave the mute thing. That's not good either. So, now let me do this here. I'm stopping this, and we're going to go to part 2, but I got to click that to get out of there. So where we're going now is part 2, and this is Ghosts in the Machine part 1. So yeah, this is part 2, but it's part 1 of what is going to be. Let me read this here. Let me put this full screen so it's easier for others to read later if they are in a thing, if they're on their mobile, if they're in a thing. And there we go. So this is part 1 of a 10-part series where I'll be providing commentary, criticism, and reporting. Oddly enough, those are the keywords used in the Fair Use Act. On the use of PSYOPs by our government and military. So this is part 1 of a 10-part series that will take us right up to Christmas. Then I'm going to take like the 23rd through the 30th off. 30th being my birthday, although I'm not going to probably be able to stay away from you guys. Come on. And then January, but I'm also going to be putting together and doing the final touches on what we got lined up for January 1st. It's going to be freaking awesome. And that I promise you. And there's no way I'm going to be able to keep my secret quiet for much longer, by the way. And it's not really much of a secret anyway. But yes, it is level 4, like water resistant, Riley. This is part 1. I got that. For 3 years, 2007 to 2010, I provided contract support for the 4th Psychological Operation Group, primarily on contracts in Iraq and CENTCOM in Tampa, where my military unit, JCSE, just so happened to be headquartered. This is from the Department of the Army. It is a memorandum on DOD letterhead. So it seems kind of official, right? And this is from September 12th of 2008. From the Chief of Interactive Internet Activities Branch. And bear with me one moment here. To whom it may concern, it has been my distinct pleasure to serve as the direct supervisor for Mr. Patrick Bergy from 28 December 2007 through 12 September 2008. Actually, but see, that's when he took over. And I'll show here in just a moment the video. He took over from Lieutenant Colonel Watley, an awesome man. And so he took over in December. I got there in October of 2007. And during that time, Mr. Bergy served as the lead technical director, directly supporting a classified Department of Defense Information Operations program. Throughout his tenure with this program, Patrick's ambition and drive to solve problems enabled him to overcome challenges that were frequent and impossible to foresee, given the unique nature of this operation. Again, it was a unique nature. This was stuff that we were trying to figure out, and everybody was trying to figure out, and shit was just going south real quick. Let me tell you. So he effectively established and maintained professional relationships with internal and external personnel, including host country nationals, and represented the quintessential mix of knowledge, people skills, and organizational experience. Right? So without reading all the rest of that, that was from Major Burris. He was the IIA chief at the time. But then Major Burris went on to become the commander of the 8th PSYOP Brigade, which the 4th and the 3rd fell under, right? So that's Major Burris. So basically, when we're talking about, right, when you've got people that are, let me go over here. You've got people that are running around saying, oh, I did this and I did that. Jesus, Tory, for example, right? No evidence whatsoever. This letter, again, was signed by Bradford M. Burris. Now, he was a major then, but now he's a lieutenant colonel. I suspect by now he's a colonel, a bird colonel, maybe. He left here. Let's read this here. Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Burris, outgoing commander of the 8th Military Information Support Battalion, 4th Military Information Support Group, passes a battalion guide on to the 4th MISG commander. Now, they were going with like MISO, MISG, Military Information Support. And, yeah, that's right there. But MISO operations, Military Information Support Operations, they changed it. It was IIA. Then it went to MISO. It's PSYOP. They brought it back to PSYOP now. Battalion guide on to 4th MISG Commander, Colonel Robert Curris, during the battalion change of command ceremony at Fort Bragg, June 10th. During the ceremony, Burris relinquished command of the 8th MISB to Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Welch after commanding the battalion for 2 years. Burris will go on to attend the National War College at Fort McNair, Washington, D.C. So I spent about a year in Iraq with the man that ended up going on to be the commander of the 8th. So when I give my perspective as a civilian who's not going to violate national security or his sacred trust, I think it should be given more credibility than your freaking, MSNBC or, Jillian Turner, Fox News, Tory, who provides no evidence of the claims of anything that she's done. General Flynn, all of these people, of all of them, who do you know that's out there that's participated in this, helped in pioneering it, and is sitting here saying, why are we even talking about moderation? Why are we even talking about this at all? Why is this even allowed? I think actually, how many people before, like, let's say Trump came along, understood what was happening, what our government was doing, what the military was doing? And by the way, I'm able now to sit here clearly and just to let you know, like I said, everything I've always said and the stuff that I said in Shadowgate and such with work that I did was not violating national security. The very fact, we're going to go to these guys here pretty quick with the Psywar guys. We're going to go there and learn a little bit more about the psychological warfare. But how many people knew that this existed, right? I don't think a lot of Americans even knew. Or if they did know, it was just something that we did overseas, or it was dropping leaflets and such, right? No, we have to wish you happy day. So, and then we have, what about the people that actually were involved with January 6th? There were people that one girl, I can't think of her name. We're going to put these together in more detail in the coming series, where we get a better understanding of how much involved these people are, what these people do in their social life. What is all of this doing to us as a civilization, as a democratic republic, as human beings? We need to have this conversation. There's a lot of people out there that talk out their ass, but I hope what I'm able to do here is to show you that I'm not talking out my ass. I'm not sitting here supporting it, but I'm not entirely sitting here and saying that there isn't a role for communications. Hell no. But there is not a role, in my opinion. I thought like they did, and I'm going to play this the PSYOPs guy here in just a moment. Let me get on with this, actually. I thought like these people before. But I wanted to put this together as a series. And then my January 1st release, or whatever day it falls on, that's going to be the day that we choose. I want all of these to help have explained really what's going on. And then from January 1st forward, it's going to be election-based, right? How is this being used? How can we see it? What can we do to stop it? Can we focus? We got 2 years now until the next Congress and the presidential. Can we push to have somebody that's a candidate that says enough of this garbage? That says we're willing to go in and just say no more PSYOP. Even if it, no matter what. Like, we can't think of a better way other than lying to solve a problem. And yeah, I get it. Other people are going to lie. What do you tell your kids? Do you teach your kids that it's okay to lie because other people are going to lie? Or do you teach your kids it's not okay to lie even when other people lie? We need to set ourselves as examples. It's something we struggled with. I want to play here real quick the video. This is like about a minute long. And then I'm going to jump into the psychological operations, the crest, and get everybody kind of like a general start and feeling of this. This was called Keys to the Kingdom. It's about a minute long, I think, and it was a birthday party. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not the birthday, the going away party of Colonel, that was our IA chief. So hold on one second here.
Very nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can't say you don't have the keys to the kingdom. With the bling bling.
That's awesome.
Now, hold on here if I can stop. Yeah. Now, if you'll notice, you can see the mouse. Where the mouse is right there, it's hard to see. Right here would be Colonel Watley, the guy that's holding the picture, but right there that's where he is in the picture. That's me in the picture. And that's Major Burris then in the picture. And that picture was taken right in front of Saddam Hussein's palace at Camp Victory.
You get it, Jamil?
That's perfect.
You see up in the upper corner there?
That's rough.
That took a long time to get that guy masked back behind it.
Where is that? Is that in a hooch?
No. That was
There's the Berg.
No, actually, I didn't use that one because it
there's a mirror behind
it. Turned out bad. So, no, that's in his office here. So I used that.
I looked and saw the camera, and I'm like, fuck. Tried to walk off.
On his pictures.
It's the keys to the kingdom.
Keys to the kingdom. That's what we wanted. But we had to follow the rules, my friends. We had to follow the rules. Again, I'm not so sure we're following the rules anymore. And that's my problem with all of this. Right?
The Psychological Operations Regimental Insignia was authorized 18 November 1998. The tricolor shield represents the three types of psychological operations. White represents the overt processes, black is for the covert, and gray is for the hidden. The laurel wreath symbolizes honor and achievement. The center device is adapted from the Psychological Operations collar insignia.
And it's going to be the lightning bolts represent signal support. I was signal.
The chest knight represents the ability to act obliquely and influence all types of warfare. The lightning bolt swords represent speed and the ability to strike anywhere. Attached below the shield.
Sorry, that's not true. Well, it's actually supposed to represent the signal support. I'm telling you, I don't think he's correct there.
There's a bottle.
Riley's going to take his side, I'm sure.
Scroll inscribed with the Psychological Operations motto: persuade, change, influence.
Now again, it doesn't all have to be bad, right? It doesn't. But we're going to have to understand what's going on. The leaves, damn it, Ryan. What do we got here? No choice. I let curl up the ball and hide. But the kids keep me trucking. Firefly, I'm just jumping in here real quick. Jaws says, my son joined 2003, served 2 tours in Iraq, my only son. Tried talking him out of it because of the FF 9/11. He wouldn't have it. Had to follow in his dad's footsteps. Who? But those are the rules now. Propaganda to the American people. The PSYOP. Yeah, maybe. But then maybe not. That is such a gray area. I'm not entirely sure. They fully worked that out, which is problematic. This is a day in the life of PSYOP by the Force Psychological Operators, or the H. 4th of the 8th. See ya. See, now this is not necessarily the contractors, right? This is not necessarily the contractors that are going to be starting their day out in the gym, let me tell you. It's actually a pretty lame-ass talk right there. It's like a fusion center. But that's pretty lame-ass fusion center, I'm telling you right now. I don't actually... what do we got? Well, we got the cables. We got the Cisco phones with the red cables, which means those are classified phones. I don't see any green phones. Ah, look at that. There's a green line right there. It says unclassed. Which is fine. I'm just looking around the room. See, all the things that you see in that room right there are the things that I would have put in there and maintained. That's my job. That was my job as an IMO, Information Management Officer. That was my job. So I recognize all of those things. But that said, see, now there you go. Nice. See, and that's why I'm able to do what I do here, right? That's why I was able to build out what I built out here. Because I participated, I helped build those things out. They were fucking smarter people than me by far, like a million times. But I didn't. My unit in the military was JCSE, Joint Communications Support Element. Right? It was not a PSYOP unit. It was an airborne unit. It was supported SOCOM, Special Operations. So we provided support to those organizations. When I deployed over to Afghanistan in uniform, was it the 82nd? Yeah, I was supporting the 82nd in uniform over there, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't want to say if I can't be right about it. But, but I never supported I never, in the support that I provided there, would have been less PSYOP, because PSYOP, CNO, Computer Network Operations, IO, Information Operations, those kind of all fall under this. Well, those things fall under Information Operations. And PSYOP, we're going to go on. I'm going to drift off here and never finish the damn show. I never made it to airborne, although I wore an airborne beret. My unit was an airborne unit. I got a lot of passes going through the Army coming in at 40, I'm telling you. And having over a decade of knowledge in computers and such before the military had really started bringing in a lot of computer guys. So I got a lot of exemptions, a lot of waivers. So I was air mobile. I took off and landed in helicopters as a passenger. Got a very nice view. Follow me. Here, this is the operation to overthrow America on January 6th. They're fucking toying with us, people. That's what that said right there. You might want to go over that. Riley, go back over that later, will you? Double check what I think I saw there. I'm not... PSYOP. So that's how, and this goes off. Oh, nice. Right? So, and you know, by the way, I really don't have a lot of issue with that particular promotional video. All right? I don't. The Ghost in the Machine, I do. It's like it's as if it's becoming a game to these people. So this was 2 years ago. It was PSYOP's role in special operations with Major General John Brennan. Again, I'm kind of throwing that out there as like, hey, was Tori ever really super specific on which John Brennan it was? Because if it was this John Brennan, then things that she said would actually make sense. If it's not, then it's not, and she is bullshit. But I was just throwing that out there. Interesting how we got two John Brennans. Let me do this here. Let me get this started. And like I said, this is well within fair use. We are providing criticism and discussion. There we go. Boing. We're providing criticism, discussion, news. And we're bringing it to you here. Job of the butt. So this is actually pretty good. And again, thanks for pointing this out, refreshing me on it. I had seen this like a long time ago. Some of it, I never dug back into it. But with all that I've seen these last few years, I'm like, this is getting crazy. We haven't even gotten into the 91st Cyber Brigade yet. Shit. There we go.
Hello, and welcome to PsyWar, a weekly podcast of the 8th Psychological Operations Group, Airborne, where we give people an inside look at the Psychological Operations Regiment. Welcome back to PsyWar. This week we're talking about PSYOP's role in information warfare. And this week we have a special guest with us, Major General John Brennan from the 1st Special Forces Command, Airborne. Sir, welcome. Thank you for coming out and talking with us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mike. Thanks for inviting me.
No, we're really pleased to have you out here. If you don't mind, just kind of tell our audience a little bit about your background.
Sure. I started in the Army as a ROTC cadet, like a lot of folks.
He was
I actually
a pickle.
wanted to be a F-14 pilot. The Navy didn't take me, but the Army was thankfully gave me a 3-year ROTC scholarship at NC State. And I think the thing that got me interested in Army Special Operations was most of the cadre there. All the NCOs were Green Berets. Some of my fellow cadets who were going through school were former SMU operators at Fort Bragg, so wide exposure to Army Special Operations as a young guy. And I just became attracted to it in my teens. And
I can, by the way, legally I'm authorized to wear the Special Operations patch crest as on the support side of my uniform.
Decided that's kind of the career path I wanted to take. So really my first soft job was a lieutenant when I went to SFAS out of Fort Hood, Texas from 1st Cav.
Stop calling us soft.
Got assigned to 3rd Group after the qualification course. I commanded a Halo team for about 2 years in 1st Battalion, 3rd Group, and then a scuba team in the same company, B Company 1-3.
Team.
After that, I was the battalion S3 for about 6 months, and then I went to SMU selection in '99, and then from there spent the better part of 12 years over in JSOC in that community.
That's Joint
came
Special
back to
Operations Command.
USASOC in 2011 or 2010 as the XO to the CG at USASOC, and then from there, War College, spent a year in 7th Group overseas in Afghanistan.
War College, that's where.
And then came back. From that, took command of 5th Special Forces Group at Fort Campbell. For 2 years, started up OIR, Siege of SOTF OIR back in 2014.
A lot of acronyms, guys.
Did that
Keep
for
up.
a year. And in 2015, went to SOC Cent, became the...
You know what's funny, though, right? Like, every general that I've briefed or supported, everyone, none would, if I started throwing out acronyms without include, like if I start the IIA, if I didn't have a massively good rapport with this person, like working in IIA directly with him, if I was reading off a report and I just read off acronyms like he did, I would get so much shit. It's not even funny. Yet, but when they go out and they interview themselves, they're like, that's all they do because that's how they fucking speak. But they should listen to their own words. I guarantee you, Brennan here, if somebody came up to start talking to him in like a briefing or something like that, maybe they just like to feel important.
The chief of staff down there. After that, was in the 101st Airborne Division for 2 years. Spent a year in Afghanistan with them.
Just a bum.
And then
I can give him
after
shit.
that, came here, back to
That's
Fort
good
Bragg.
soldier.
Was the DCG of JSOC for 6 months, and then in November of 2019, I took over 1st Special Forces Command. So that's it in a bag of nuts.
That's a lot of.
I think
RSOC
Burris will make
experience,
general.
basically from captain all the way to.
That's why Burris is going to War College, guaranteed, or went to War College so that he could be promotable too. Pretty quick.
Yeah. As a major general, you've been involved in some capacity with Army Special Operations or even Joint Special. You mentioned
and
JSOC.
and interagency.
So the Joint Special Operations Command. You mentioned SMU. It's our Special Missions units. So they they do a lot of other stuff within the Special Operations world. So a lot over a good career. When we're talking about PSYOP, one of the things that kind of comes up a lot with some of our viewers, questions we get on social media, are you Special Forces? So I was wondering, for some of the civilians, even some of the soldiers out there, can you talk about, you're the commander of 1st Special Forces Command.
Right.
Can you speak to the differences, like what is Special Forces, what is PSYOP, what is Civil Affairs, and kind of what are the differences between the different tribes?
And I see the media mess it up all the time. So Special Forces with a capital S and a capital F, that's what I am, that's my roots, and those are the folks that go to the Special Forces qualification course and wear the Special Forces tab and the Green Beret. Special Operations Forces, which is all lowercase, unless you're using an acronym. That's everything that's Special Operations that falls under the U.S. SOCOM umbrella. Right. So 79,000 personnel in U.S. SOCOM. And then part of that, USASOC, U.S. Army Special Operations Command, is the Army component of SOCOM. And then I command the operational force under USASOC, 1st Special Forces Command. It's 22,000 person strong Army SOF division. It's the only one in the world. It's the biggest Army division. And we have 11 subordinate units comprised of 5 active duty Special Forces groups, 2 National Guard Special Forces groups, a Civil Affairs Brigade, 95th Civil Affairs Brigade, the 2 psychological operation groups, 4th and 8th, and then our 528 Sustainment Brigade. So 11.
The 4th and the 8th. But the 4th falls under the 8th. And again, Burris was in charge of the 8th. He was commander.
Direct report units. And we're scattered all over the world.
All over the
about
world.
15 different time zones. Right now, we've got soldiers deployed in 60 plus countries doing special operations on behalf of the U.S. government.
It's a lot. Huge responsibility. If you don't mind speaking a little bit more to the what we call the three tribes.
Sure.
So special forces, kind of what's their, what do they do? Civil affairs, what do they do? And psychological operations, and just the little bit of difference between the three.
And it's like just for a moment here. Back in 2008, maybe 2009, early, 8. I was going around with that guy Russ that you saw in the picture, in the video, to Qatar and other places, trying to talk these guys into the use of IIA, the use of predictive analytics, the use of, in combining all of those with CNO, computer network operations. They wanted nothing to do with it, right? So it would have been very much like a guy like this, a general, who we would meet with, and they'd be, and we said, and we had, you've seen those, the proposals that we had put together. The Army didn't want nothing to do with it. All they knew was blowing shit up. But now, it's like, especially when COVID came around, because you can't blow shit up from your house very well. We aren't that far along in robotics yet, but oh dear God, don't get them started. You'll hear him discuss COVID a lot here. A little bit later, you'll hear him discuss how it's kind of their job to make sure that that the world knows that the virus came from China and not America. You'll hear that and probably say to yourself, wow, are you sure that Biden administration and the Army are on the same page with that? Because it's funny, because our government is pushing one narrative. Oh, it wasn't China. And our military is trying to disseminate the message. It was China. That, my friends, is called deconfliction.
Three tribes.
Yeah, and I'll start off with, the power and the combinations of those tribes is what makes us more powerful.
You wonder
so we can
why
operate
I smoke
across
weed.
multiple domains and across the entire operational continuum, from competition to full-up war. So at the end of the day, Special Forces, that's our primary force that operates with indigenous personnel to have outsized effects on the battlefield.
Yes. Originally, Riley, I wanted to use those tools. If you're going to hear this guy say right now, so I would have come back to it even though I kind of drifted away from it. You're going to hear this guy say in just a moment, if he hasn't already, that this is an important tool. It can start, he'll make the argument, well, if you could stop a war before it started, why wouldn't you? Without firing a shot, why wouldn't you? The fuck have you heard that before, Riley? Yeah. It seemed like a good idea to me in 2007. And God is my witness, we did some amazing things. Like I said, you can go to, this guy would tell you right now, guaranteed, that IIA that the Force Psychological Operations Group were key contributors to the reduction of violence in Iraq, to where when Obama came into office, we were able to leave. Now, he fucked that up. That's not on us. A small group of people, which ironically enough, he just went and named a group of people, the like number of people. That's kind of like, you're not supposed to do that. But a small group of people, for him, changed or influenced these things. We'll get back to that. But it seems like a good idea, Riley. Now, coming back to the U.S. after being overseas almost 8 years between Iraq, Afghanistan, and South Korea, coming back, seeing what I saw in going on in the U.S., which, I don't know, you wouldn't think about this, but it's hard to watch programming and such that you see every day. You'll take for granted all the things you see every day on TV you don't see overseas. So I come back over here and I start seeing all these things. And then I see Paul Manafort. He was involved with this and he was involved in that. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. John McCain, because we worked on John McCain's campaign, Dynology did. I start seeing all these things. And so, 7 to 10, it seemed like a good idea. Started to look like a bad idea around 2010 when I went to work for Leone for about 4 months and they didn't properly fund it, lowest bidders. Just horrible security. But that wasn't, that was definitely an IAA program. That was with IOTF, Information Operations Task Force in Afghanistan. This guy, where I was over in Baghdad, was with the JPOTF, the Joint Psychological Operations Task Force, JPOTF, however that is. So, it started out, I thought it was a good idea. But then, as time progressed, I just keep seeing it going bad and bad and worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, to the point where I'm like, maybe we shouldn't even have it. Because it's destroying the integrity of our elected officials, more than they're already destroyed. It's destroying the integrity of elections. That's pretty clear. It's destroying the integrity of everything. So, at what point, when you're a major general or when you're an officer in the Army sworn to protect the Constitution against all threats, foreign and domestic, at what point do you say, holy shit, we're the threat? I think now's that point. Look what's going on. We got fucking 3-star retired running for office with a damn PSYOP emblem on his book, running around with all these fucking fake pastors, doing basically checking every box out of every manual I helped create to use against our adversaries, to protect Americans against Al-Qaeda in Iraq, not General Flynn. But that's where we're at. So it's like, and then we're going to keep going into this. We're going to run late tonight because this is too important. It's only a 30-minute video. I'm going to keep talking like this. And I know Riley's going to run past her bedtime. I'm sorry, I can't help that. But this is too important, right? Because we got to ask ourselves, should we even be doing this at all? Are we killing ourselves? Are we hurting? Are we destroying our country? Wait till you hear him say how he encourages, how this is so great because people who get into our unit can leave and go back into society and have these great skills. Holy shit. Did you tell that to Akbar? Did you guys tell that to Tori? Although she was Navy, she couldn't have anything to do with an army. Well, joint, but oh God. Don't even entertain that. I'm just saying. No. There's just a lot of people. How about Posobiec, who was a PAO, who's right out in the thick of shit, trying to influence our elections, trying to influence our country. Whether you agree with him or not, you should not agree with either side using the techniques, capabilities, tactical coordination, along with other prior military. He's working right with freaking Flynn to influence elections. These are second and third order of effects that these guys aren't considering. They're like, wow, we figured out how to use social media to destroy people, to destroy countries, to destroy humanity. But we haven't been able to figure out that it's going to destroy ourselves. Let's run into let's do 10 minutes, and I hope to see you guys back, because this is too good. And by the way, we're only 6 minutes into it. I apologize for that. We're going to finish this off, though. I will see you guys back in 10 minutes. Take a pee, have a smoke. If you got a question, pass it along. I'll do my best to answer it. And I'll see you guys in 10.
They never make the same mistake twice. They make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure.
Missing Pirates, wait till you hear what they say about the vaccines and what they've been doing to try to counter that message from China. This is going to piss you off, guys. Pay attention. Thank you, Thomas Show and Bergy, for the music. Sorry for ruining it. Testing 1, 2. Are you sure? Yes. Test, test, test. Audio went out there, but that wasn't on me, my friends. What the fuck? Testing 1, 2, test, test. Testing 1, 2, test, test. Why don't I hear that? know why it did that. OBS. Probably needs an updated driver. Oh, you guys could hear me? Likewise, Hill Country. I got a lot of redundancy here, Tony. Knockwood.
Patrick P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett. Who used to be with Google. Who used to be with Google.
Same response, sir.
Patrick P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett.
Same response, sir.
Who used to be with Google. Who used to be with Google.
Oh, Patrick Pichet?
P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett. Who used to be with Google.
Same response, sir. Same response, sir.
Patrick P. Shett.
Oh, Patrick Pichet?
Patrick P. Shett.
seek to overthrow a despotic regime. That's the force that does it. So they operate on the ground, toe-to-toe, shoulder-to-shoulder with their indigenous partners. Psychological operations, PSYOP soldiers, they're the masters of influence across multiple media, whether it's a leaflet, a computer program, social media. They cause our enemies and our friendly partners to change their behavior. So influencing them to do what we want.
Okay. Is that just like, okay? Do you, and you're like, we're never going to get through this, Berg. Shut the fuck up and let it play. No, you can watch it. Do you guys, does anybody really believe that they aren't, that this isn't going to be used on us by other countries? If other countries have that same attitude on us, and you know why they have that same attitude towards us, or at least why they are allowed to? Because they believe that we are doing it to them. And so they are justified then by doing it to us. If we weren't doing it to them and they were doing it to us, well, the rest of the world would look at them as dicks. But now they look at us as the dicks. Hate to tell you that, just being a PFC and all.
Civil affairs, they are our masters of civil-military cooperation. They work with indigenous governments to either create stability where there isn't any, or through the new mission they do, civil reconnaissance, they identify places that are at unrest and are subject to potential unrest, and they help quell that in a COIN environment,
counterinsurgency
environment. They also do disaster relief and humanitarian assistance on a grand scale. So they pull together.
Okay. I said earlier. Did I not say earlier? There are examples of where that could be good. JCSC deployed out to Hurricane Katrina. And helped set up communications there. What would be wrong in being able to target survivors with information that lets them know what's coming, where to go for help, blah, 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 right? That's a great use of predictive modeling and targeting demographics using the new technologies that benefit us, right? With truth. But when you are disseminating things like, let's say, in Maidan region, and I wasn't there, but you have to be a fool not to even just like public statements that people make that are attached to these groups verifiably. I mean, that's a problem.
There are various networks of non-governmental organizations, private volunteer organizations.
Yeah, I had my sound.
USAID on our side, and then other nations similar capabilities to have effects on the battlefield.
So it's a lot. I think the thing you brought up at the beginning is really important, and I've seen it myself on some of the missions I've been on. Is that cross-functional aspect, where all three entities.
He looks familiar to me, by the way.
A similar goal. I've seen on a few different mission sets, whether it was humanitarian assistance or even direct combat operations, having all three together working cohesively definitely ensured different parts of mission success. So. I think that's a good takeaway from just the command as a whole.
Sure.
So a long storied career so far in SOF. I'm sure there's still more to come. I
like your optimism.
It's only up from here, right? You reach for the stars, you get the moon, and go for some more. So I'm sure it's changed over the years. I think you said 99 was initial SOF?
No, I went to selection in 1994.
94, okay.
Yep.
So 94 to, we're here in 2020.
Yeah.
Really, what kind of things have you seen over time within SOF? How has it changed?
Really how the entire...
Think about that, people. 1994, not 1894. 1994, not a lot of time.
Army Special Operations, every tribe has professionalized, and we've gotten much more capable across the board. Obviously, we're the only Army unit that has functional regional expertise, so language, cultural training in the area where we are designed to train and fight in.
Awesome.
So that part, we've gotten better at it. We've added more capability across the board to all three tribes. I'd say that the biggest difference is the growth.
There's like 180 different dialects of like Pashtun or whatever in Afghanistan, none of which I ever learned.
Primarily in PSYOP, because we had, I think, 2 battalions when I was a captain, and I never saw a PSYOPer, ever.
Oh,
wow. That was like a battalion or really a group level asset.
You're not supposed to see the PSYOPers.
Not so much anymore. There's obviously a lot more capacity out there. Same thing with
the secret squirrels.
The civil affairs, I think there was only a couple of battalions. We were in a brigade, and 528 Sustainment Brigade was a battalion. So we've grown appropriate.
If anybody ever wants to really know what my tasks were, just like Google like secret squirrel with the our U.S. Army secret squirrels. That's where it's entirely possible that may have just started like it within our unit in 2007. If somebody can find a reference to it before that, I'd love to see it.
Appropriately our enablers more than our actual.
I may have been one of the original squirrels.
Our actual special forces. I think the only difference, we had 2 reserve groups as well, and those got downsized. So actually the SF component has gotten smaller. The groups have gotten more capable internally, so we've given them more capability to operate across multiple domains, cyber, electronic warfare.
I wonder if 91st Cyber, no. I don't know. Would 91st Cyber fall under the 8th or the SOF? I don't know. I suspect they would probably support them upon occasion.
They're just way more capable of finding the enemy and destroying them, as well as partnering at the lowest level possible. Initially, and it's kind of like we've gone back to the future. So when I was a cadet, we were told, hey, your life expectancy on the battlefield fighting the Soviet Union is about 6 minutes. So that's the standard we trained to. It was, large scale combat operations. And then as I got into special operations, it was very similar. The Soviet Union had just collapsed. So there was a lot of uncertainty out there, and that's when terrorism took root, obviously. But as a team leader, my focus, our wartime plan was the invasion of Iraq, because we had just...
Real quick, what happened post-perestroika with Russia that probably had one of the most significant impacts on what we're talking about right now? It's the most important rodent in the U.S. military. Well, that maybe the raccoon, but I've never heard of them actually. I lost my thought now.
Just come through Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and really Iraq was still a major threat to the Middle East and the world's oil supply. So that was, in third group, that was my primary mission. Not unconventional. That was straight up large-scale combat operations, because at the time the Iraqi military was one of the biggest in the world. We've also had North Korea's never gone away. Right. That's nothing new. It's just that our enemy has now become more capable, more deadly. They can project power with ICBMs and nuclear weapons now. So we're getting back to that.
Great job, Obama.
Since 9/11, between 9/11 and now, we've been focused primarily on
Bush.
counterterrorism, counterinsurgency operations in Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria. We've been very successful, as you saw from, what happened in the early days of Operation Enduring Freedom. A handful of soft teams basically took over that country with some.
Okay. OEF, or Enduring OEF. Handful of soft.
Indigenous help from the Northern Alliance. So that shows you the capability, the outsized effects that we've had on the battlefield since 9/11. And now those are wrapping up, so we're getting more into the great power competition, and we are appropriately modernizing all of our formations to get after that threat.
I think it really shows a shift, and really just the ability to operate both from low tech, no tech, to high tech, and it's a testament to the soft, formations and their ability to do that. As you mentioned, the early stages of Afghanistan, horseback, and now we're talking about information warfare, cyber stuff, electronic warfare, and being able to do everything in between. So it's really a testament to what the formations are able to do. So you mentioned PSYOP wasn't a thing really that you were aware of. You never met a PSYOPer before in your early days in SOF. How about between then and now?
Sure.
Like, can you share any of your experiences working with PSYOP soldiers?
Absolutely. So I think the first exposure I had to PSYOP was when we were hunting Noriega down in Panama, seeing loudspeaker teams blasting AC/DC.
Nice.
At the church at the commandancy and the church where Noriega was holed up. And finally the priest just said, get him out of here, because it was just too intense for him. That was like the first exposure.
Okay, so and that is not anywhere on the same level as predictive behavioral modeling using targeted social media psychological warfare. Can we agree?
And then really the next exposure, I'd say I was at the captain level, getting ready to do the invasion of Afghanistan. Lots of leaflets. We're going out on the battlefield. So
we were the PSYOP secret squirrels. Maybe. I don't know.
We got to coordinate what the messaging on the leaflets was. A lot of it was just beware of cluster bombs, don't pick them up, and then once the civil affairs folks did humanitarian assistance drop.
Surprisingly, we needed a manual for that. Go figure. Or to drop flyers for that. I think I got to tell you a story. We were going into the DFAC Camp Victory, and flyers started landing on top of us. Well, clearly, the 4th POG had missed their target, and instead of dropping it where I'm assuming they missed their target. So there's like leaflets all over the ground out by the DFAC. So I pick it up and it's like a bunch of, like most wanted, Afghanis or not Iraqi, like Al-Qaeda guys. And I'm like looking at that list. I think Russ was there with me. I'm looking at the list going, hey, didn't that guy just make my omelet?
It was, hey, this is food, because it was in a bag, and an Afghan's never seen a halal meal, MRE.
Halal.
So it was telling them, hey, this is food from America for your people. So that was
yeah, we had to drop messages to let them know that we had just dropped food, because they would have never been able to figure out that was food. Really? Yeah, right? That's why they have the tags on mattresses, because not everybody's used to mattress.
Kind of the first inkling I had of it. And then once we got into the deep CT fight in Iraq, similarly in Iraq we had the leaflet drops and a lot of the broadcasts over Commando Solo telling Iraqi units to capitulate, turn their tank barrels behind them, and then that was a signal that they were going to capitulate. So we saw a lot of that on the battlefield. I was on that invasion as well. Obviously not uniformly followed by the Iraqi army, but at the end of the day, it did provide a lot of capability to allow those soldiers that wanted to surrender, and we didn't have to kill them.
And it allowed the U.S. Army to blow things up, because that's what we do.
At the end of the day, it was hugely important, the message that was going out. And then similarly, we told them, hey, where to go for humanitarian assistance. But then once the Al Qaeda in Iraq threat started
good.
emerging, that's when I think PSYOP came into their own. They started using a lot of discrete methods.
Okay, so Al Qaeda in Iraq, AQI. He's exactly describing right now the program I came onto, which had already been started. The IIA, well, it was something else. It was, what the fuck was that? TRWI, Trans-Regional Web Initiative, before IIA. I think probably TRWI was one of the first, certainly one of the first to focus very heavily on social networks. That would be my best guess. But clearly I was wrong with the squirrel thing too, so by a few years.
To expose the enemy so that we could target them, as well as deceive them so that we could locate them.
Squirrel. They couldn't pronounce moose very well. Moose and squirrel. Oh no, that was Russian.
In a place and time of our choosing.
To those over in the YouTube chat, you didn't see what I was kind of like joking with the Twitch chat. I'm sorry if I leave you guys out. You guys aren't as chatty over in YouTube though. I don't even know if there's anybody there.
A lot of classified methods, but a lot of it was very unique. And that's when I was a ground force commander. I started having PSYOP formations embedded in mine, and I could actually task them and just tell them the effects I wanted. And then the PSYOP experts, came up with their ways and means to.
And by the way, this guy's getting instructions. This guy's getting his orders from McChrystal and Flynn.
To get to the ends.
No, that's at the end of the day what it's about. Changing the behavior.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not doing something. If we don't want you to show up at a place, stay home.
Yep.
Don't do that. Or surrender, whatever it may be.
Actually, Tony, what we did is we didn't split people apart. We helped keep them together, right? Al-Qaeda, AQI, was trying to split them apart. Now, fast forward, and by the way, if you're over on YouTube, I'm answering a question that says, so basically you go in there and you split the people down the middle and make them fight each other in favor of us. Kind of like the same thing being done to We the People. Now, I wanted to just correct that in saying that, no, we were over there. The work that we were doing with 4th POG was trying to keep the Sunni and Shia together as part of the Sahwa. And AQI was trying to tear it apart. Now, again, fast forward to today, and you have General Flynn, General McChrystal, and these and Byrne and these others. Good night, Riley. Byrne and these others doing just that.
But it's all in the benefit of the ground force commander's objectives. So.
Yep, I'm a huge fan of MILDEC, military deception and tactical deception, and PSYOP.
MILDEC, tactical deception. Again, where is that in the Bible? I get it's in Sun Tzu. Where is that in the Bible? I just don't. I just don't think we're on the right track.
Folks are the best in the world at planning that and executing it. So the best fight is the fight you don't have to fight. If you can win without shooting,
absolutely,
then that's an immense victory.
Because it's both sides. Yep. You've got your soldiers that you're commanding, but you also have the enemy soldier, and you're able to, a soldier that's alive and it's being taken care of. It's a testament to the force, and it has a ripple effect in combat. So, we use the term force multiplier a lot, and that's a big part of what we are.
Yep. And I think it started, we had radios in a box just reaching the populace. We couldn't reach them because of the terrain in Afghanistan, and having those ways, with the airborne systems and being able to talk to the people on the ground and message that the government of Afghanistan or Iraq is there to support you. And then it really helped recruit people into their security forces and then expose where Al-Qaeda and other deviant ISIS where their formations are, where they're hiding.
No, it's interesting. Having gone back there multiple times, seeing the shift in and how the population receives not just us, but the non-state actors that are trying to do illicit activities there. So it's really an interesting perspective over time. You know, we've been in Afghanistan quite some time, pretty much the entirety of my career, and so seeing the shift and where we were to where we are and how we play a role in that has been really intriguing. Something that came out a few weeks ago, I think that you know, things are always evolving. I mentioned it earlier, is how ASOF has evolved. General Clark, you know, the U.S. SOCOM commander, has been vocal recently about you know, SOCOM's role in modern warfare. One of the things that he brought up as one of the three major fronts is the war on influence, which, you know, as we mentioned, that's a big role that we play in with PSYOP. So this puts the PSYOP regiment in a really unique position. What do you think, or how do you feel about those comments?
Go the other
from
way.
your perspective, you know, being not quite his level, but 2 levels down. With I mean, you have direct control of the PSYOP regiment. So how do you feel about his comments and vision?
Obviously, they're spot on, and then really the COVID outbreak has only amplified the need that we need to be more active in the influence domain. In cyberspace.
Listen to this.
And the space between the ears. So at the end of the day,
in the ears.
We're not going to be shooting tanks at each other. It's going to be influence to expose malign intent from our near-peer competitors, as well as expose
That's not good.
how they're providing aid to some surrogates who look a lot like terrorists across the globe.
I may have some computer issues coming up.
We
very
can't
soon,
be, since
folks.
we can't be physically with our partners, we have to do a lot of virtual work now. That goes for all 3 of our tribes. The SF teams have to do more remote advise and assist, and then the PSYOPers are experts at leveraging.
Just so you know, if I do have computer issues, stand fast. I can usually restart, but I'm detecting some behavior here on this end that tells me a potential crash is imminent, but let's see.
Their partners' capabilities to influence on our behalf. So we're exposing a lot of what China's doing, particularly with COVID. They're blaming it on us, which we know is a false narrative. So we just put the truth out there broadly so that, you know, the greater community of the global community can see where it's actually coming from. And then all of the really
okay, stop. Hold on.
Not so good equipment. That
okay, the video is not. Holy shit. Okay, so hold on. Okay, so I've got a. Can you guys hear me right? You can hear me right now, correct? Okay, the video is not playing through here. I'm having an issue right now with OBS. It may be because of an update that's needed or something. I've put that off, not because I'm lazy, but because I had issues with it on the other system when I did the update to it. It's froze. So let me do this. Let me see here. Hold on. It shouldn't be. My processor speed's like low as hell. There's got to be something else going on here. Hold on. Scene 1. Okay. Only it's froze. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart. Oh, that sucks too because I'm gonna have to redo my splice these all together. But hold on one second here. There we go.
the Chinese have provided as a.
The issue appears to be with OBS, not my system. Nope, not my new bot. My new bot won't be here for the Bergy-Bit won't be here for about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks.
a way to influence partners in the Far East, expose how that equipment doesn't work or it's defective, and then highlighting the things that we donate actually work. So the compare and contrast, and that, sways the tide of influence out there.
I'll fix this, splice it together, and post it to locals and probably Patreon, by the way.
In the Far
In
East. So
segments.
similarly with Russia, they're doing the exact same thing, blaming us for spreading COVID across Europe.
Okay, so Russia is blaming us. Now, are you guys tracking what's going on here? Russia is blaming us for COVID. And YouTube, don't shut me down for talking about fucking COVID right now. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm repeating what the commander of the psychological warfare is talking about. Our military is saying, our military is getting feedback that Russia and China are trying to use disinformation and misinformation with COVID to show that America was responsible for that. Now, I don't know who was responsible for it. But if this guy is trying to disseminate to overseas, to our allies, to our enemies, that it wasn't us, it was China, right? China. What good are the Democrats in D.C. when they are fighting that narrative, saying, oh, we don't know, oh, we can't be sure. No. Get your narrative together. Fix the deconfliction. If this guy if the psychological warfare component is focused on this as a threat, you can be damn sure that that's the problem. And so if that's the problem, why the fuck aren't the people in D.C., the liberals, on this particular issue, why aren't they supporting the military? Is that a good question? Is that a good question? Have you ever heard anybody answer? Has anybody made this point? This is legit. I mean, this guy's a brigadier general. Major general. Sorry. Who? Don't want to go down. So why isn't anybody asking that question? Would be a great question for the media, wouldn't it? Hey, go up to the press secretary. Look, we got you. Why do you have this? Why is there this need for deconfliction between your message at the White House and the message with the Department of Defense? Y'all need to get on the same page. And again, Tony's probably, because it's probably us. Hey, that's not even us, China, whoever. I'm just saying, shouldn't we be on the same page? Again, we're trying to build trust in our own government, let alone, and we've got other countries that are trying to create distrust. Our generals, our people, our leaders should not be helping them do that. They should be working together with one voice, whether it's right or wrong, actually, and then sort that out in a very transparent way later. Hold people accountable.
Obviously a false narrative, so the psyopers are doing a great job of combating that in cyberspace, social media, and then with partners. The voice of our partners is much more genuine because it's in the native tongue, and having them promulgate our message, I think, is huge.
Now it goes back to our soft mantra, by, with, through. Those partners become key for leveraging, whether it's training, the advising, assisting piece, but also doing influence operations. So General Clark also mentioned another front. One of those was war on talent. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big thing when you start talking about special operations.
Here we go.
Who are we looking for? What's the right person to come here, and then how do we manage that once it's here? So, in your eyes, from where you sit, looking at the PSYOP regiment, what kind of people should we desire? Or if if there's somebody out there that's thinking, if this is the right place for me, should I go to that? Go to the RSOF, go to the PSYOP regiment. What do you think from where you sit that should look like?
Well, all of our formations, we conduct selection processes for a reason. So we're looking for, universally, all RSOF operators, we're looking for folks that are trustworthy. They can excel in ambiguity. They're problem solvers. They're smart. They're physically fit, tough, and mentally tough. So those attributes cross-cut all of our formations.
You can get a waiver for those last couple.
And then we fine-tune it based on a person's attributes and what they bring to the table, their experiences, their aptitudes, etc. So they're assessed on that. For PSYOPers in particular, we're looking at creative minds, folks that have kind of a marketing skill, if you will, so they can sell a product, because that's what they're doing. They're selling the truth to people who may not want to believe it. We're looking for artists, people that...
Okay. Are they always selling the truth to people that may not want to believe it, or are they sometimes selling a lie to people that don't believe it, but they really, 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 really need them to believe it? So then they tactically and in a coordinated way create other scenarios that help bring people around to the same. See, there's multiple sides to this coin. Wouldn't be. I guess all coins are going to have a multiple side.
That can create an image out of an idea that looks and acts like something that is interesting to a target audience. People who are analytical, that can assess that target audience. And then...
okay, so, right? Analytical, assess the target audience. What are we talking? Data analytics. Cambridge Analytica. Right? Cambridge Analytica was the British version of the same thing.
Really measure effects, so that's why they got to be experts in assessments. Really, and I'm looking for more digital natives now than ever before. So we're always hiring.
Digital natives.
And,
what's it? I'm not entirely sure. These kids these days, man, they're looking for to sell their pea shit lies, right? Well, okay. Hey, let's stop here for a moment. We got enough time to finish this out and let me talk a little bit, but let's have a conversation here, right? Or just throw out a couple questions. Pretty quick, you're gonna. Okay, so they're drawing people from this. Are they drawing people from Twitter, Facebook? Right? YouTube? Are they drawing... Okay, and then once people leave here that have been trained in military PSYOP for a decade, and they leave, wait just a moment, and you're going to hear him say, wow, and look at all the great opportunities you can go into when you leave. Right? Now, did they say that to Oppenheimer and the other guys working on the frickin' bomb? Capable of altering the outcome of a war pretty easy. And this guy acknowledged this is capable of altering the outcome of a war. So, it's like, oh, yeah, you helped create a nuclear. Why don't you guys run out and sell nuclear bombs commercially? Wow, they're great. They can solve all sorts of problems. Sync backed up, political issues, gun control an issue. We can fix that with a nuclear bomb. No, you can't. It has a nuclear weapon has its specific purpose. And so does this. And if you're not careful with the limits within you that you allowed this to be used, It's no longer a weapon that benefits you. It's now a weapon that can be turned on you.
PsyOps in particular, it's a skill that I think will set people up once they get out of decide to return to civilian life.
There we go.
They'll have some awesome skills to take with them.
Awesome
whether
skills.
it's running studios like this. I mean, these are
CNN, MSNBC, Fox News.
Soldiers running this. So,
you know, what are the other ones? You know, OAN. Really? You know, how many are going to leave and go to Truth Central? How many are going to go from Truth Central back into this and be assets within this organization that could easily, in a very covert way, be turned against us as part of a coup, which I believe has already happened.
So that says a lot about the skill set, the breadth of the skill sets you get as a PsyOper. And I think
Again, second and third order of effects. This guy's smart. Brennan here, General Brennan, he's a smart man. He fucking knows this. I'm a dumbass private, and I'm telling y'all. And it makes sense. Does anything I'm saying here not make sense?
I think it's
Isn't
a
completely
growth industry
verifiable?
across the board. We're talk about the golden age of PsyOp. It starts now.
The golden age of PSYOP. Again, some wonder why this bothers me. I have an issue to this. It's the golden age of PSYOP. Really? The dissemination, the influencing of people's minds, the suppression of individuals being massacred or slaughtered by providing public relations through DC lobby firms to tyrants and dictators, and all just for the money. I think, you know, we need to have a ban on this shit. And I said like SALT, you know, social media, like a SALT treaty, where it's just a ban on tactical coordinated dissemination, a ban on the use of viruses and malware. I didn't finish this a while back, but what was the thing that was brought upon by Perestroika? And that was the RBN, the Russian Business Network, likely responsible for some of the most horrific damage to America, to Russia. Russian Business Network, RBN. At one time, it was responsible for like 80-90+% of all bots, viruses, worms, Trojans that were being used by people all over the planet, just using the RBN to launch malware attacks and such, to traffic children, weapons, drugs. It was the RBN. It was the black, you know, and it had deep roots in Russian mafia, post-perestroika Russian mafia. So obviously it had deep roots and connections to Putin, but that didn't matter, right? That doesn't seem to matter to these people. We could have been helping Russia post-perestroika. We could have helped them write a new constitution instead of having them figure it out for themselves. Why not? Right? There was so much we could have done or could do. This, we can do better than this.
And it's going to be more important. It's a way to have effects against near-peer competitors without launching ICBMs at each other.
No, absolutely. I think one thing that I would probably add to that, or two things, would be able to communicate. You know, you mentioned being digitally savvy, which is great.
Yep.
But we still need people that can communicate, because we're talking by with through. Sometimes that by with through means we're having a conversation. So communication is, important across all forms of media, whether it's digital or in person. So having the ability to communicate is key. It can be learned. We've had some guests on here. We've talked about this before. That how do you teach somebody to communicate? Well, sometimes it's just going out and talking. I saw it as an instructor where students had no problem texting, the keyboard warriors, but as soon as you got face to face, it changed the dynamic.
Yeah, I couldn't look you now.
So
I suck at that, right? I was an IT guy doing this stuff. I was not a spy. And you'll see in upcoming videos in this segment, in this series, this 10-part series, you'll learn more about how this functions. Where was I going with that? Well, let's just go on.
That's a big part of what we do. And I'd say the other thing is just a real strong moral compass. You mentioned
a strong moral compass. Working in misinformation, disinformation. A strong moral compass. Are we really sure? And if they come in, if you're wanting them to come in with a strong moral compass, are you sure they're leaving with a strong moral compass, going out into society, going in and working at these news organizations, TV, radio stations? Are we sure? Again, second and third order of effects.
Being out in ambiguous environments, and I think having that is key, because you may be by yourself and you have to do the right thing. And, you represent your unit, First Special Forces Command, and the Army as a whole. So having that moral compass is important.
Being able to speak truth to power, I think, is important as well, because
truth to power. Let him finish.
Staff sergeant psyopers are talking to ambassadors. They're talking to 3- and 4-star generals. And then their formations tend to get attached to formations that have higher ranking commanders in them. So being able to tell that commander the real deal about what's going on in the information environment and how he should better affect it for him. So
truth to power. Again, how can how can you even use the word truth as a commander of an organization, a cyber?
That's important as well.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, sir. So talking about how SOF has evolved over your time in special operations, how does that look within the command?
Sure. Since I took over First Special Forces Command, we've undertaken a major modernization effort that affects all of our formations. So we have what's called the .MLPF change request in for the PSYOP groups, both PSYOP groups, the Special Forces groups, as well as the CA Brigade, and the 528th is going to be next. So they're all in various stages of approval. The big thing for the PSYOP regiment is we are transforming into a 12-person unit of action, a PSYOP detachment, that will be universal across all of the 4th Psychological Operations Group. And 4th POG will be the regional group. Each battalion is focused on a different global geographic combatant command, aligned with a Special Forces group. So, for example, 1st group has Indo-PACOM. So aligning with the Special Forces group, so those 12-person units of action can break down into a 6-person team or a 3-person team to work in.
I'm surprised he says like the amount of people on teams.
Niche locations like in embassies, and as part of information warfare task forces out there. The 8th POG is our global psychological operations group that is focused on really affecting cyberspace, social media. That's where we're putting a lot of our digital natives. So that the 2 battalions, 3rd Battalion, which runs the Media Operations Center, is going to take over what's called the Information Warfare Center, where we provide effects through cyberspace across the globe and across geographic combatant command boundaries. So that's the big.
Now, again, the 8th that he just mentioned, which was global, was commanded until 2016 or so, which would have been, I would remind you, through probably the Maidan incident, right? And a number of other things. That was now Lieutenant Colonel Burrs.
The biggest change. We've shifted 1st and 5th psychological operations battalions out of 8th POG and over to 4th to make them purely regional, and we pulled 3rd over to the 8th. So
now the 3rd is largely responsible for dissemination of the information.
That's the biggest change we've got going on. We're also awaiting some additional authorities to do messaging from Fort Bragg, where most of the psychological operations capacity for the United States government resides. So we have a lot of capacity here that we're going to start leveraging globally in support of Cyber Command, Air Force Cyber, the interagency, as well as our forward deployed theater special operations commands.
So doing more from Fort Bragg.
Doing more from Fort Bragg.
So we're kind of coming to the end here, and so I wanted to kind of do one last shout for our guys out there. If there's somebody that's interested or looking for something different, they're looking at PSYOP, they're looking at Army Special Operations, what advice or encouragement would you have for them?
Seek that opportunity as quickly as possible. There's multiple ways to do it. We're hiring off the street, just like our special operations recruiting battalion. They take folks from off the street, whether you're in college or if you're in the greater community and you want to serve. 1st Special Forces Command and our regiments are a great place to serve. You'll be surrounded by competent people who have a higher calling and a very nationally important mission. And then you're, of course,
in other words, calling all grifters.
You're set up after you decide to end your service. You're set up with some great skills on the outside. So
think about the video we saw earlier from these guys, Ghost in the Machine. Think about the type of individual that was appealing to, right? And ask yourself if the recruitment that they're focused on and then training, bringing them in off the street, training them, and then sending them back out with this knowledge. I mean, is that to go work at these other organizations and such? I mean, please, people. Like I said, I think this is the most significant problem that our country faces, that humanity faces. And we need to be part of the conversation.
I'd recommend folks, there's a lot of television shows out there. You can, in addition to the SORB recruiting and your podcast, there's lots of information about what it's like to go through those selection courses and what it's like to go through training. So I'd recommend do some research and figure out which tribe works best for you, and based on your skill set and your background. But give it a try. That's the hardest part is the first step, signing up and trying.
I tell people all the time, don't self-select.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of people that probably would do well here, but they make up their mind that they won't do well, and so they don't take that first step. So, don't self-select. Just go do it. Try it.
And PSYOP's offering some very good lucrative bonuses right now.
Listen to this.
To get in it and stay in it. So
yeah, I think the initial entry is something like $30,000, and currently re-enlistment bonuses are tier 8, something around $58,000, which is
almost $60,000 for the re-enlistment bonus. $30,000. But they screw you on that. Be careful. I was offered $20,000. I was told that I had enlisted and I was supposed to get a $20,000 bonus, but they ended up fucking me out of that. I wrote about that in my first book, Victim of the Swamp, available on Amazon.com. We're going to get this finished up here for tonight, folks. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like I said, got a lot of good stuff coming down the road. Say your prayers for Fred. Get better. A lot of good things I'm working on. I can't do this without your help, right? Bank account is almost empty, but I've got a lot of inventory sitting on the shelf there. So my goal right now is to take the books and the inventory and the cameras and my new partner, who will be arriving in about 2 weeks, into the street, right? And have these conversations. Start talking to people. Because it's the only way I'm going to be able to break past the command and control that they have over the narrative, over the media. And like I'm trying to show you here tonight, we need to have a conversation. We should be involved in the conversation. At the very least, through our democratic republic, through our elected officials, they should be involved in what's going on here, but they won't be because they're using... People are leaving these organizations, going to work for DC lobby firms, going to work for campaigns, where they then take this knowledge and use it to give their client a competitive advantage in our election process. And I'm assuming about 90% of the people in office, maybe more, are there because of that. So they're not going to be out there exposing it, right? They're going to expose what is keeping them in office? No. We have to force them into having this conversation, not violence. Jesus H. Mary and Joseph. We need to force them into having this conversation by taking the conversation to them. I'm not able to, Tory, Milley, Gavin, Byrne, Giuliani, all these people with these platforms who could have helped, turned against me, turned against truth, turned against what's really going on so they could keep filling their own pockets. Meanwhile, whistleblowers like myself and others are doing everything we can to try to get this message out. I can't do it without your help, right? So freedomstream.tv/anything. Well, just go to freedomstream.tv and you can click on support up above. And that immediately goes. And that's like the most helpful and has the least amount of expenses to it. And it's the quickest. Also, patreon.com/American Awakening, right? And I'm uploading, you can upload videos there now where you couldn't before. So I'm uploading really good, high quality, high resolution videos. This streams out at a much lower resolution than what I actually recorded on. Although tonight's show is going to be a little clippy because I had to restart, right? But both of those places help. My goal is to get to the point where I can go out. I'm going to take my books out and my new partner, and we are going to get the Bergy-Bit going and get this message going. I think it's going to be a great thing. And then all through 2023 and 2024, myself, the Bergy-Bit, are going to be going to the campaigns, right? And having this conversation. And you can't, and who better to have it? If you're going to give me shit at a Trump rally for being at a Trump rally when I put in so much time and effort supporting the MAGA movement, supporting Trump, I don't think you're going to. I think most people are going to want to hear me out and then let them make their own decisions. But I'm not there to judge. I'm not there to be a dick, although I occasionally am. And I'm going to be going to Democrat functions as well. We got to be having this conversation with everybody, right? I'd like to be able to. I've got enough inventory if I can sell all the inventory that I have by Christmas and get the few orders out that I got to get out in mail, I could easily make some payments back to some people that have helped out. Excuse me. Order more books and really fund what I'm trying to do here without needing financial support from individuals like yourselves. But right now, I can't. Right now, I'm not there yet. But if you like what I brought to you tonight, if you like the voice that I'm able to bring, as imperfect as it is, I need your help, folks. I really do. Such cool things. But I'm going to continue to try to earn your trust, to earn your support. I got some great stuff lined up. Like I said, this is going to be a 10-part series. We're going to go through this. We're going to take it right up to Christmas. And then beginning January, we're going to refocus. And like I said, I got some pretty cool, some pretty creative things. I'm not really good at going up and engaging people and just like as a salesperson. I suck at that. My new partner, who will be here in about 2 weeks, is perfect at that. She's like, she can talk to anybody, right? So together, we're going to do something very interesting. Again, this is freaking, this is like everything that I'm doing right now is 1,000% out of my pocket, my risk. So I'm doing everything I can, folks. If you can help out, please do. I will see you guys on Wednesday for part 2. This is going to be good. And get ready. Get ready. The holidays are coming. This is awesome. Thank you very much, folks. I will see you guys Wednesday. Good night and God bless. Where's my little button? There we are. Thank you, folks.